Hello, and welcome to Syntakt Talk episode 3. Today I want to talk a bit about the Elektron Tonverk. As some of you might know, I have had one for about 2 weeks now, and while this is not really a review of sorts, I just want to give my impressions from the perspective of a heavy Syntakt user. So, why did I get this box now? The short answer is Wayfinder, I guess. And the longer answer, I've been intrigued by the Tonverk's capabilities since its launch last year, because it seemed to fill a nice gap in my hardware setup. I've had a polyphonic sampler / multi-sampler before, namely the MPC Key 37, but having one with the Elektron sequencer, all its crazy routing and effects options, and a sequencer that can actually overdub, felt like a dream machine already. But there were features missing still at launch, and it seemed to be a bit buggy. So I did the responsible thing and put it on the somewhere in 2026 shopping list when all the kinks eventually were to be ironed out. But then Wayfinder dropped last month, adding dual oscillator wavetable synthesis, which basically sealed the deal. Because getting a hardware wavetable synth, like Modal's Argonate, for instance, had been on sort of the gas backlog for a good while as well. And now having one in an Elektron box, yes, please. So, I got one. Now what? First of all, it's quite a lot to get to grips with. The Tonverk, while not necessarily complex if you're used to other Elektron boxes, offers a lot of possibilities to make sounds and music. You have polyphonic sample playback, multi-samples, granular and wavetable machines, all with their own set of features and controls, which are not all standardized to one page like on the Syntakt machines. So it takes a while to familiarize yourself with what lives where and what it actually does. And of course, all the machines are little sound worlds in itself, depending on what you put into it, which is the beauty of it being a sampler. I do feel it does take a lot more from the digiboxes workflow-wise than it does from the bigger boxes like the Octatrack and Analog 4, which are the ones that I'm familiar with, and which makes it feel faster to work on, which I think is a good thing. Then, of course, you have the whole suite of effects and the buses with all the routing options, which takes a while to wrap your head around. With every track having its own sequencer as well, the possibilities can become a bit overwhelming because you can feel a bit like you should use everything all the time just because it's there. But as Syntakt users may know, going wild with its single sequenceable effects track can add a lot to your patterns already. So now imagine having 16 tracks where every effects setting can be modulated. I guess this is the case with every new piece of gear you get. You know, you want to feel like a power user immediately, so you're going for the most complex setups, while in truth, a little goes a long way, especially on a device like the Tonverk. And that brings me to my second point, the sound. You might have heard or read that the Tonverk sounds really good. And it's true. It sounds phenomenal, really. Everything is crystal clear and bright and spacious and very upfront. But it actually can be a bit jarring, really, coming from the Syntakt. Which in general sounds way more warm and boomy and saturated by itself, and the way it sums everything in the mix is really not the same as on the Tonverk. It feels like on the Syntakt you can get away with more broad strokes adjustments, while on the Tonverk a little goes a very long way. And you'll have to spend a bit more time, or at least I do, tweaking things to get it to sit nicely and really gel. But you also have more options to do so. So I guess this is also just part of getting used to the Tonverk, so it's not a bad thing, just something to note. Adding to that, sampling is a breeze. It's super straightforward like on the Digitakt, and everything you sample sounds great. I've been mostly recording one-shots from the Syntakt and then playing them polyphonically, and it all sounds brilliant, really. I will say though, because of that, I haven't even touched multi-samples and the auto-sampler yet. Because just recording a single one-shot and playing it back polyphonically sounds so good already. That's a nice problem to have though. But it also means I can't really comment on how well it works just yet. Resampling is a major thing on this machine as well. As an example, having a sample go through a bunch of effects, resampling a couple of notes and making a granular patch out of that is super satisfying. Or resampling a pattern or an external input and making a granular sound bed out of that to drone underneath your track. It's so easy. There's so much to explore here. And if that's your thing, the Tonverk should be right up your alley. It's taken me a while to get that into my system though, coming from the Syntakt, where everything is generally very direct and fast. I have to constantly remind myself of all the creative options that are now at my disposal. But again, that's not a bad problem to have. On the subject of samples and sampling, it's a good thing to have at least a bit of an idea what you want to do with this machine and do a bit of preparation before getting one. Similar to the Octatrack, when you start a new project, the Tonverk doesn't make any sounds by itself. There's no default sounds or presets loaded like on the Syntakt, where you at least have a starting point for each track. It does come with an extensive factory library, but you still have to populate your sample and wavetable pool, pick a machine and then start designing your own sounds. Which is if you don't want to use any existing presets, which I didn't want to. I did actually do a bit of prep before buying the Tonverk, so I could at least try to hit the ground running. I knew I wanted to keep using my Syntakt drum sounds, so I sampled a ton of those from my packs so I could make my own basic kits with the Tonverk's subtracks. Next to that, I made a ton of single cycle waves with various tools, like the ones found on EasyBot's Modbang website or S's hard and softcore apps. So I would have a lot of raw material to make synth patches out of. And finally, I spent a couple of evenings making a bunch of wavetables with Carve Toy to feed Wavefinder with. I mostly just used the random generator and tweaked the results a bit and then hoped it would sound alright in the Tonverk. I thought that would be a decent starting point. Some drum sounds I'm very familiar with and lots of raw material to start making synth patches with. To me, Tonverk is a sample-based multi-timbral synth first. One which also conveniently happens to have a little Digitakt built in. That gives me a bit of a framework to not get lost from the get-go. So, any criticism so far? I mean, I've only been using it for 2 weeks now, and I feel I've barely scratched the surface of what's possible. But there are some things I think would benefit it already. First off, it could definitely use an EQ as an effect or on the master track only even. Being able to at least control the mids a bit with everything that's going on would definitely be helpful. I would also love for velocity mod and key tracking to make an appearance here as well. It would completely blow the roof off the Tonverk's already impressive capabilities as a sound design monster. And I would like to see the perform mode expanded a bit, as it feels very bare now, as it's just a simple safe state to return to. It could definitely benefit from some macro setups like on the Analog 4 to really make it shine. What about slicing and time stretching, you say? I don't really care, to be honest. I know it's important to lots of people, and I would be happy for them if it makes an appearance at some point, but that's not why I got the Elektron Tonverk at all. And what about bugs? Well, I've not really encountered any major ones. Just some small things here and there that I'm sure will be ironed out soon enough. I will say though, I've been using it standalone exclusively. So nothing attached through MIDI, except for a keyboard controller. That's clocking or syncing it, etc. that could introduce any issues. Obviously, this is all my personal experience, which you can take with a big grain of salt or not. But definitely don't consider this purchasing advice. There's probably more annoyances I will encounter over time, but for now, I'm pretty happy. One other thing to note, which is not a negative but just different, is the encoders. If you're used to the Syntakt encoders like I am, you know how heavy they feel and how long it takes to go from 0 to 127. The Tonverk's encoders, on the other hand, accelerate like a race car, and you are at max value in no time, which does save you a little time. But it also takes some time adjusting to. I do appreciate it though, but it does mean you need a lighter touch at times for the small adjustments. I have learned this also goes for value adjustments in general on the Tonverk. A little goes a long way. This machine really has no guardrails, and as good as it sounds, you can still turn everything into a big noisy mush very easily. Which might be what you want, but otherwise you should be gentle. There's also a lot of things I haven't even touched upon, like all the quality of life additions that have been added. The step editor with per node probability, the sequence transformer, sequence lanes, the pattern transitions that are known from the analogs, proper undo and redo. It's all pretty helpful, even though I still tend to ignore most of it because of my Syntakt muscle memory. In conclusion, I'm already really happy with the Tonverk so far. It's a great experimental musical playground, but also really no slouch if you just want to be a bit more straightforward. It'll definitely take some time though to really find my way on it because it's so open-ended. Every pattern I made on it so far has been totally different because I'm really just trying out all the new things. Which also means it'll probably take a little while before I'll start making videos on it. Which does mean more Syntakt videos, something that'll make at least some of you happy, I think. Speaking of the Syntakt, the Tonverk really is a great companion to it. Besides the obvious, like being able to turn everything into polysynths, well actually that's more than enough already. I just think they complement each other's sound really well. You know, you got the big beefy chungus versus the wide open, crystal clear 32-bit floating point goodness. It's a killer combo that has potentially infinite variations. And because the Syntakt is this versatile drum machine and synth in one, it really is a Swiss Army knife of sample food for the Tonverk. Closing out, I will just keep exploring for now and share the odd musical snippet here and there until I think I have something worth making a video about. Or maybe I'll do a Tonverk live stream, just fooling around, who knows. But in the meantime, Syntakt is not going anywhere. And that's it for Syntakt Talk episode 3. Hope you found this insightful, and let me know if you either have a Tonverk or plan to buy one, and if so, how are you approaching such an open-ended machine? Thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.